Right lads, you know the score. Imperial Bodybuilding here, bringing you the latest bodybuilding news. Right lads, and the Prague Pro is underway and you're looking at Samson Dauda, coming obviously from a very disappointing 4th place finish at the Olympia. But my first thoughts, I don't know about you lads, but I think this is one of the best Samsons that we've seen. He's added about 15 to 20 pounds, he's sitting at about 295 pounds. Don't forget he was 280 pounds at the Olympia, the smallest that he's been in years. But look, this isn't just when you finish a bodybuilding show, usually you have a rebound where you add water and then fat, but Samson has added literally 20 pounds of solid muscle. He's full, he's still conditioned, he's still got that beautiful silhouette, and I don't see anyone even coming close to this look. Lads, let me know what you think. If Samson would have brought this look to the Olympia, would he have won? I certainly think he would have beaten Andrew Jacked because I think he's more balanced, he's more complete. Obviously, I think the back still needs to come up slightly. But look, Samson's game is not conditioning. As you can see here, he lacks in the glutes. He always has. But Samson's strength is the overwhelming size and the silhouette. And when this show is finished, and I'm convinced that Samson will win quite easily, I think him and Marlena are going to look back and say, you know what? This is our strength. The size, the silhouette and the shape, it's unbeatable. Yeah, look, we're never going to be as razor sharp as Hadi. We're never going to be as maybe balanced as Derek or favoured as Derek by the judges. But what we can do is play to our strengths, and that is one, overwhelming size, and nobody is going to be able to touch the structure or the balance of this physique. Yeah, look, we can still work on the back, maybe get some more striations and density in the glutes. But other than that, lads, this is a very, very good package from Samson Dauda. And next up, lads, we have to talk about Keone Pearson. Let's not forget that he's coming off his 212 victory at the Olympia, and this is his first show at the Open. First thoughts, lads, what do you think? In my personal opinion, absolutely flawless. Once he gets into the transitions, like the arms, the fullness, the X-frame, he has everything to be an Open Olympian champion. The only thing that I think that is going to hold Keone Pearson back, one or two things, or both. One is the stomach. I think that the bigger that he gets, and he's obviously going to have to put on another 15 pounds, lads, the bigger that he gets, the bigger the stomach's getting, the bigger the gap in between the abs is getting and becoming. This is unacceptable in the judge's eyes. Obviously, since the great Phil Heath, that look was punished and will no longer be acceptable. The other problem that I find is just he's only 5'4", and going against behemoths, as you will see in a second, against the likes of Samson, against the likes of Krizo. Look, you can see him here. He's just absolutely dwarfed. Even by Martin. Martin is about 5'6" and a push, and he makes Keone, I'm not going to say look small, but as you can see, even 1 or 2 inches plays such a factor in the overall muscle size and comparisons. And next to Samson, he looks like a garden gnome. He looks absolutely tiny. But if you look at the transitions and we compare them pound for pound, look, I still go on Keone. If you were to ask me who wins this show, I have to say Samson. Look, there's no one that comes close to that size and silhouette. Obviously, you've got Martin, who is very well proportioned and balanced. The only thing with Martin is he's too small. And that's not a criticism of Martin, but he's remained the same size for like the last 3 years. But what he does have going in his favour is he's pretty much balanced from top to toe in every single transition, in every single pose. And I think in order to be a Mr. Olympia, what the judges want, they want the complete package. They want the balance, they want the fullness. But it's more balanced than it is just having 1 or 2 great poses like Nick Walker. They want the finished article, and I think that Martin has everything to be a Mr. Olympia champion. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What is it that Martin needs to do? As I've just said, I think he needs to go away and add another 10 to 15 pounds to be right in the mix. And if he does that, he can crack the top 3. But I just want to focus on Martin for a second and tell you exactly what I mean. If you look at the fullness, he's got that sort of Phil Heath 3D-like quality about his muscle. As he goes into the transitions, this reminds me of a Phil Heath going back to 2007, 2008. He was still a little bit stringy, but he had all the tools that we knew that this guy could be. And he went on to be the gift and the 7-time Mr. Olympia champion. And I think, honestly, that Martin, obviously I'm not comparing him to the great Phil Heath, but when I talk about balance, it's not just balance, but I think if he adds a little bit more density, even 5 to 7 pounds on a physique like this, you're going to see it massively. You know, from the back, he's absolutely flawless. You see those razor sharp glutes, the beautiful lines on hamstrings, and then just the overall back as we go up top. It's very, very hard to beat. But if Martin truly wants to take it to the next level, then he needs to come bigger. The front shots, especially the front double and the lat spread, he just needs more size. Now, moving on to Krizo, who is really on home ground. He's won this show before. But look, you look at Krizo in the front double, he's got the best arms in the world with Nick Walker. My only criticism of Krizo is he's been a pro now for about 10 years, longer than Samson Dauda, and his posing is still, in my opinion, very amateur-esque. It's piss poor, lads. Like, for a pro of this level, of this caliber, look, he's got the physique to possibly, potentially be top 3 at the Olympia, but I just think his execution and his presentation, look, it holds him back, because from the side, that is the best side chest in the world, other than Nick Walker. But again, as we go to the back, you'll see what I'm talking about now. We talk about presentation. You compare him to Samson, who flows like a Rolls Royce, but looking at Krizo, he can't even hold a back pose. You know, he's shaking, he can't lock the pose in. But I just think that if he was just to polish and just to nitpick and critique his physique and his posing and his presentation just slightly more, then this is a different bodybuilder that you're looking at. Krizo is a bodybuilder that you want to see at every single show, because he just draws. Just because of the 3D muscle belly, Kevin Levrone-esque like quality of his muscle. This is a guy that you want to see at every show. Let me know what you think. What is holding Krizo back? And someone that will be battling, I believe, for 4th place with Krizo is Juan Pradels. A fairly up-and-comer, I'll be honest. I haven't heard much of Juan Pradels before. I've seen him on Instagram many times, but to see him compared to the big boys on the open stage, look, I'm very impressed. And I can see this lad, only 27, 28 years old, going on to dominate the European circuit and being a big name and making a statement at the Olympia in the next year or two. Looks a little bit soft from the back, from the glutes and the hamstrings. But look, if we're talking about shape and silhouette, then Juan Pradels has literally everything. Once that midsection is dialed in, it's one of the best in the pro league. It's the tightest. Now, this is your top 3 for me. Lads, let me know what you think. What separates Samson from the likes of Keone and Martin? Look, your eyes are drawn to Samson just because of not only the height, but you see how much it plays and just the overwhelming size that Samson has in every pose. Look, Keone, pound for pound, for me, is probably the best bodybuilder in the world. But that size advantage and the height advantage that the likes of Samson and Krizo have, it's very, very hard to beat. And that's why I think that Keone is going to have difficulty, even if he wants to put on the extra 15 pounds, which I'm sure he could. But just because of the height advantage, lads, let me know what you think. I might be wrong, but I think that he needs to possibly stay in the 212, make a legacy for himself, because I think the more and more he grows, the bigger that the waist gets. I do see Samson winning this show, no problem. And I can't, it's a toss-up between Keone and Martin. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you haven't already, lads, drop me a like, a comment and a subscribe, and I will see you in the next video, my friends.